This presentation will provide information about our school-wide professional learning policy soon to be implemented this fall 2017. Fowler describes the policy process as the sequence of events that occurs when a political system considers different approaches to public problems, adopts one of them, tries it out, and evaluates it. Let's review the historical approach to the problem around educator evaluation and professional learning. Over the past 30 years, Delaware has implemented the Delaware Performance Appraisal System, known as DPAS-2, an annual statewide educator evaluation system. In an effort to strengthen the system, recognizing professional growth of educators is necessary for student growth. Feedback from local education agencies indicated that they wanted opportunities to create an evaluation process that was meaningful for educators. This is called the Alternative Educator Evaluation System. Before it could be formally adopted by schools, the Delaware Department of Education created a process overview and application for the Alternative Educator Evaluation Grant, which can be found on their website listed at the end of this presentation. Beginning in 2013-2014 school year, the Delaware Department of Education awarded some districts and charters grants to implement their own alternative teacher evaluation model. Then staff at my school had new opportunities for them to identify and grow in areas other than their student test scores. Now, with the new Alternative Educator Evaluation System, known as the Educator Effectiveness Framework, it is evaluated 3 times per year over the course of 3 years by the Department of Education. So what is the problem? The Rodell Foundation of Delaware publishes a yearly Delaware Public Education at-a-glance document. Recently, they released data summarizing Delaware's educator summative performance evaluations, indicating that 98% of teachers are considered effective to highly effective in the state of Delaware. This is a problem since student achievement does not correlate with these scores. Student performance on state assessments is at 50% proficiency overall. So how does implementing a professional learning policy fit with our organizational goals and priorities? The school has now created a professional learning plan that integrates key aspects of the comprehensive induction program known as CIP required by the state, the school-wide goal of closing the achievement gap, and the educator effectiveness framework. This will allow us to personalize instructional coaching, mentoring, and learning community efforts within our school into a cycle of continuous improvement as seen in our school-wide strategic plan. The policy was designed using the Coherence framework developed by the Public Education Leadership Project at Harvard University. The theory of change is to use professional learning leaders such as administration, coaches, and teacher leaders to personalize professional development using the score on their educator evaluation framework known as the EEF rubric and teacher desires so that we are strengthening the instructional core and raising student performance school-wide. The strategy is to strengthen the instructional core, students, teachers, and content by providing different modes of professional learning. The mission is to structure the way PD sessions are offered and the type of sessions offered so that they are personalized based on data from the EEF rubric. Strategies will still be needed to design and implement the personalized PD models as well as evaluate them. The culture will be different from previous years. There will be more emphasis on the evidence and work product produced by teachers over the course of 8 weeks, collaborating with other staff members with similar goals versus hours served at PD, PLCs, data talks, etc. Regarding systems, processes, and procedures will be housed in the Edivate platform. Concerning structure, the head of school will continue to conduct the summative evaluation at the end of the year. The supervisor will conduct the DPAS Component 5 goal setting and the fall and spring benchmark observations. Then, most importantly to this policy, is the PLLs, now coaches and teachers as mentors, will facilitate professional learning focusing on the dimensions of the EEF rubric where data has shown most teachers have goals. So what is the status of the policy? The professional learning policy has been formed over the past 6 months. It is expressed in written language in the Reimagining Professional Learning Grant. A copy of this can be found on the last slide. Funding has also been allocated. Even though the local education agencies, known as LEAs, in the state of Delaware did not receive the Reimagining Professional Learning Grant, costs associated to professional learning were absorbed by my school. Some examples are the hiring of coaches and tools such as Edivate and Schoology. Lastly, rules and signatures still need to be applied. For example, roles of the supervisors, coaches, and educators are in the process of being established. Links to these documents can also be found in the last slide. Signatures will be applied after feedback is provided before the start of implementation this coming school year. So why is it important to understand this policy, and what impact will it have on our organization? Well, currently the inducement instrument is being used with respect to the school-wide policy around educator evaluations and professional learning. Recently, branches of the Department of Education offered these grants to individual schools in return for the production of a good or service. In 2015, the Teacher and Leader Effectiveness Branch offered this grant. In return, our school needed to develop rubrics, criteria, schedules, and budget forms that would be monitored 3 times per year over the course of 3 years. Currently, staff at the school comply with these guidelines set forth in the grant, in large part because it is tied to state funding. Now, since we have not received the grant for professional learning, we can move forward with this professional learning policy as a hortatory instrument. To do this, we will leverage our content area coaches as a source of information for our teachers. We compare teachers up with the coach based on their professional goals set from the prior year evaluation. Schoology courses will be designed to appeal to the core values, best practices of teachers, and they can even contribute to the content. Then the target population most likely to act on this information, which are educators, will be able to access the best practices and ultimately cultivate their skills and methods to achieve their goal. There are 5 main actors that are involved in this policy issue: the legislative branch, executive, judicial, non-governmental policy actors, and media. The legislative branch. During the implementation of the federal mandate No Child Left Behind, NCLB, in 2009, there were more than 25 new or proposed state laws and regulations regarding teacher evaluations, almost all focused on using evidence of student learning or achievement in the evaluation process. Upon the federal involvement creating Common Core state standards and this SBAC assessment in 2015, student scores in the evaluation were to be waived. Most recently, in 2016, the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, states that there will no longer be the federal involvement in teacher evaluations, and it is now up to the discretion of the state. Regarding the executive branch, during the time Common Core state standards and the Smarter Balanced Assessment was adopted by the state of Delaware, House Bill 399 was passed. This allowed subcommittees to be created in order to revise the current teacher evaluation called Delaware Performance Appraisal System, DPAS, and then they offered the Alternative Educator Evaluation grant to LEAs. The judicial branch included the local education agencies, known as LEAs, and they could decide independently to apply for this grant. If the LEAs decided to apply, which our school did, then they needed to create this alternative evaluation system. Non-governmental policy actors influenced the way teacher evaluations at this time that were being shaped. For example, the National Education Association, known as the NEA, located in Washington, D.C., had been active lobbyists and released policy reports during the time of NCLB and ESSA about teacher evaluation. And lastly, media is, as we know, an influential policy participant. Specifically, there's a blog called Exceptional Delaware in which the writer posts their opinion on educational topics in the state. House Bill 399 was one of them. So an engagement strategy is now needed to revise the professional learning policy in order to have successful implementation. To do this, I will create a broad-based steering committee to engage stakeholders. The school board, coaches, and administrators have all been involved in the policy formation. However, not the teachers. I need to plan for teachers to review the coaching plan and ask for specific feedback prior to implementation in the fall. In addition, forward planning is needed. To do this, I will present the implementation plan and gather scenarios and solutions from administrators, coaches, and teachers. This will help to anticipate shortcomings of the policy prior to implementation. And lastly, the school will need to rethink some resources. One challenge is for substitute teachers to cover classrooms so that teachers can visit other classrooms to observe and practice their goal. Also, we bought the Edivate tool to house all of the professional learning videos and teacher portfolios. However, it will be a challenge to effectively use this system since more training is needed for both the teachers and coaches. Do you want to learn more about this policy? Check out some internal resources, including the Reimagining Professional Learning Grant, timeline for implementation, budget forms, and the roles and responsibilities of the supervisors versus coaches that have been brainstormed so far. You can also review external resources such as EdWeek articles about NCLB and ESSA, rules and requirements for evaluation and professional learning from the Delaware Department of Education, and websites to non-governmental actors on evaluation and professional learning, such as the NEA.